Welcome back to Learn JavaScript on Codecademy. We're in the loops section. This is lesson 3, for loops. It says, instead of writing out the same code over and over, let's make the computer loop through our array for us. We can do this with for loops. The syntax looks like this. We have var animals, which is a list that contains grizzly bear, sloth, and sea lion. We have our for loop here, which first initializes I to 0. I is going to be in charge of going through each instant of the list. So it starts off as 0, and we say as long as I is less than the length of animals, which is 3, because there's 3 animals in here, we want to keep incrementing I. So it starts off as 0, and then we go into our loop 3 times. Each time in the loop, we console.log animals, and then whatever position we are. So the first instant, I is 0. So here we would console.log whatever animals in position or index 0, which would be grizzly bear. Once this is done, then it comes back into the loop, and now I would be 1 because this is being incremented each time through the loop, as long as I is less than the length of our list of animals. So first it prints out grizzly bear, then I increments, and now I becomes 1. So the second time in the loop, it would print sloth, and then again it would come out of the loop, and then I would become 2, and since 2 is less than animals.length, which is 3, then it will run this code again, console.logging animals index 2, which would be sea lion. So then it comes back up here, and now I is incremented to 3. So then is 3 less than animals.length? It is not. So this evaluates as false, and therefore stops the loop. And that is the for loop. So it says, since this syntax is a little complicated, let's break it into 4 parts. Within the for loops parentheses, the start condition is var I is assigned 0, which means the loop will start counting at 0. The stop condition is I less than animals.length, which means the loop will run as long as I is less than the length of the animals array. When I is greater than the length of the animals array, the loop will stop looping. The iterator is I++. This means that each loop, I will have 1 added to it. And finally, the code block is inside the curly braces. The block will run each loop until the loop stops. The secret to loops is that I, the variable we created inside the for loops parenthesis, is always equal to a number. To be more clear, the first loop I will equal 0, the second loop I will equal 1, and the third loop I will equal 2. This makes it possible to write animals 0, animals 1, animals 2 programmatically instead of by hand. We can write a for loop and replace the hard-coded number with the variable I like this, animals I. And then we could just look at this here. It explains it. So our start condition is we initialize I to 0. So this for loop will start counting at 0. Our stop condition, the loop will stop when I becomes greater than the length of the array. Our iterator, I++, and it says the value of I changes each loop. So each time it goes through the loop, I is going to keep getting incremented. So starting at 0 and iterating until it gets to the stop condition, which is where it becomes false. So to better see this, let's try the instructions. It says, let's replace your current code with a loop. Write a for loop that loops through your vacation spots array. Inside the block of the for loop, use console.log to print each item in vacation spot array. So if I erase this, we can do for, we can do var I assigned to it 0, that's the start condition. Next we want to say as long as I is less than vacation spots dot length, then we want to increment I. So as long as this is true, what we want it to do is console.log vacation spots I. So essentially, this is going to loop through the 3 vacation spots, and each time it goes through the loop, it will console.log vacation spots and then whatever instant in the loop it is in. So this would be 0, which would therefore print what is in index 0, which is Paris. Then it comes out of the loop and goes back again, this time I being 1. And as long as 1 is less than 3, which it is, we're going to go back in here, and now console.log vacation spots I is now going to be 1, which would console log the second item. And then again, it goes back into the loop, and then 2 is less than 3. So I is less than vacation spots length still, and then it will console log vacation spots 2, which would be Barcelona. And then when it tries to go back in there, it will not continue running because this will evaluate to false, therefore ending the loop. So let's see if this is what they asked, and we did pass it, and as you guys can see, we were able to console log Paris, New York, and Barcelona just using this for loop. So it says, way to go. Now add more to each item. Inside of the code block, add some text to each item like this. So you can do, I would love to visit space, and then concatenate that to vacation spots. Now if we run this again, I would love to visit Paris, I would love to visit New York, and I would love to visit Barcelona. So as you guys can see, loops are powerful. You can go through vast arrays and do stuff to each item in the array without having to write a bunch of code. So that is 4 loops in Learn JavaScript on Codecademy's loop section.